Are you overwhelmed by the challenge of personalizing communication for thousands of students? That's where Element 451's AI assistants come in. From nudging prospective students to guiding those already on their journey, AI assistants don't just automate. They write, build, and optimize every step of your digital campaigns. Discover how at element451.com/AI team.
If your team is not making mistakes, you are. A perfect performer is proof that you have not properly delegated.
Hit it! That's what I'm talking about. Wait!
Okay, now, from the beginning.
Hit it, boys.
Welcome to Higher Ed Pulse, your Monday morning energizer covering insights and trends in higher ed marketing and enrollment. I'm Mallory Wilsey, bringing over 15 years of edtech and marketing expertise to your earbuds.
And I'm Seth Odell, joining the Pulse with my own adventures from leading marketing at top universities to founding Kanahoma, one of the industry's fastest growing digital marketing agencies.
Each week, we bring you the kind of insider insights you typically only find over cocktails with your pals at a conference.
It's fast, it's fun, and it's designed for you, the busy higher ed professional.
You're not just listening to another podcast.
You're checking the pulse of higher education.
Higher Ed Pulse is part of the Enrollify Network, a robust collection of podcasts designed to help higher ed professionals like you grow. Explore our other shows at enrollify.org. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com. Seth, it is Thanksgiving week, and I am feeling thankful for you. I'm, in fact, wearing my Kanahoma sweatshirt today.
I love it. Oh, that's so awesome. I love that. Thank you for rocking that. That means a lot to me.
What are your plans for the holidays this year?
So we're staying local, which I'm all about, at least early on. You know, my mother-in-law is going to host everybody on Thanksgiving. We are going to do a real quick trip up to LA to see my brother and his family after that over the weekend. But, you know, trying to stay close to San Diego, but a lot of time with family. What about you? Are you traveling?
We are doing a quick trip up north to where my family is based. And so we'll get to spend Thanksgiving up there. My grandma, who's 92, hosts these events.
Gosh,
so
awesome.
we're all bringing the food, though, you know, and we're like, Mimi, you sit in the corner, you drink your coffee. We do not need you to cook. Like, you just enjoy having a full house. But, okay, so don't get me wrong. I'm obviously looking forward to the family time. But on Friday, I am doing a New York City trip with Ashley Budd and her daughter. And we're going to have I don't have kids, but I get to vicariously live through this 7-year-old and go to American Girl and the Rockettes and just have this super fun New York City weekend.
Yeah, New York City around the holidays is magic. It just really is. And so I grew up in upstate too. So yeah, it was always an annual tradition to make it down to the city sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas. I love that.
I'm not sure if I invited myself to the trip or if I was technically invited, but either way, I'm just honored that I get to go hang out. Exactly. And see the joy of experiencing New York City in the holidays through the eyes of a 7-year-old. I mean, it's just going to be fantastic.
I love it. That's awesome.
Yeah. So, you know, Seth, you know this, as we were preparing for our episode today, and kind of reflecting on our community and how thankful we are feeling, right? We wanted to do this episode around the community. And in fact, this was also inspired by AMA. I did an awesome, fun fireside chat with Tony Proudfoot, who's the VP of Marcom at Western Michigan University. And we talked about a similar topic, right? And kind of at AMA, our fireside chat was all about the realization that cultivating meaningful and lasting relationships can fuel personal and professional growth and effectiveness, and that to be an excellent marketing leader, which we've talked about before, can be a very lonely role. Like, it does require confidence. It requires self-assurance, and it like a way to unlock those things is by building a supportive community around you. So we wanted to take this theme in the week of Thanksgiving to the podcast and kind of unpack that a little bit. And this is totally, listeners, this is one where we want to hear from you on LinkedIn and learn about how you're building your community as well. But Seth, I've kind of got a big question for you to start this one off. Okay, I want to know, what is the scariest decision, or maybe the most high stakes decision that you've ever made?
Oh, okay. I love it. So I think for me, the biggest kind of high stakes decision I ever made was definitely quitting my job as a CMO at a university system to start Canahoma. When I started Canahoma, we actually turned 4 this month. And 4 years ago, I was, in a CMO job with 70 employees and a large marketing budget. It was during COVID, and my wife was pregnant with our first child. And so we were trying to decide, like, are we really going to do this or not? And, a series of events happened, and I had some early client interest, and I had, UCLA lined up to be a client. But taking the leap and leaving like a salaried job with benefits to say, I have no idea if I'm going to make enough money to pay our bills, and I have to like pay for Cobra, and we have to have our child on like extended insurance because I don't have any yet, was really, really crazy. And that was by far the scariest decision. But I will say I got through that entirely with community. And so I did what I really called like a road show. I talked to 50 folks. In fact, probably many folks listening to this podcast were folks that I called and talked to about it to get advice and feedback. And part of that was to get candid, like tactical advice, but also it was to get reassurance from people that like, I think you can do this. And I think there's room in market for another shop. And I think that, your thesis on what you're trying to build is right. But it took a lot of community engagement to build the confidence to take that leap. Because that was definitely like a burn the boats moment for me of like, okay, I'm going to go all in and try to build a business. And so that was mine for sure. Scariest decision by far. But what's yours?
That's awesome. And congrats on that 4-year milestone.
Thank you.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it feels really good. It's just really cool to be here now. Now it's stable, and I feel like, okay, I've got a business, I have employees, I have partners. It's wild to think back on just how crazy the decision was at the time.
Yeah.
So I'm very grateful that I took the leap, and grateful for all the folks that weighed in and encouraged me to do so.
That's awesome. Hey, I'll tell you, because I've had the benefit of being able to reflect on this now for a few weeks since I was prepping for that fireside chat. But Tony and I, when we started thinking about big high stakes decisions, I remember sitting there being like, have I ever made a high stakes decision? I'm like, well, surely I have, right? Like in hindsight, surely I have made some high stakes decisions. But I'll tell you, something that I learned about maybe myself was, in the moment, the decisions didn't actually feel very scary. I don't know that that's the right word for it. High stakes for sure, but not scary. And I think that's like because I know myself and the amount of preparation and research I put into things. And that doesn't mean like, you can put in all the prep and research and things, you can still fall flat on your face. Don't get me wrong. But like in the moment, I always felt, maybe warranted or not, confident in the decisions I was making. But I will tell you, the first high stakes decision I feel like I ever made was advocating for M. Stoner's acquisition of Higher Ed Live. And I'll tell you that, like, I feel like I've spent my career pushing forward with initiatives that haven't always had a clear path or a guarantee of success. And when I was at M. Stoner, and when you and I were chatting about Higher Ed Live, there were no playbooks for building media networks to drive industry conversations and community around brands in particular. Like, this media-driven brand building is a thing now. Like, hey, we're living in it. We're at Enrollify. Yeah. Like, it is a thing now. It was not a thing in 2011. And I saw what you had built and how much community there was around it.
Yeah.
And I saw an opportunity for M. Stoner to be able to pick that up in a way that was a little more personal and dialogue driven, where we weren't just going to be promoting a service, but we were going to be creating a space for connection and innovation and thought leadership. And it could have not gone well. Like, it could have not gone well. I wasn't given a budget. I was funding that network solely through sponsorships and having people trust me, like, with their dollars in something that wasn't proven. And then on the other side, having hosts trust us that we would give them, right, the space to be able to explore things without a heavy hand over them saying, you have to be on these like M Stoner talking points or something. And so the model didn't exist back then. It was very uncharted territory. So it was, I think, more high stakes than I realized at the time. Huge investment for a small agency, but hey, it turned out well. So here we are.
I love that you picked that. I remember being at dinner with you when we were talking about Higher Ed Live, and I was talking about my work at Southern New Hampshire, and I was expressing that I didn't feel like I could do both to their full potential. And in the moment, I could see the light bulb in your head. And I think that's so important because it highlights that confidence isn't binary. So when we talk about building confidence, it's not like you are confident or you're not confident.
Yes.
I think you were confident at that dinner in that first conversation where you're like, if you are looking for a next chapter for this thing, I think we can have a conversation. You immediately had confidence, but then you built that confidence as far as like, well, what is the plan? What can we do with it? And so like in some ways, confidence is like bringing a picture into focus, and it's not just like you are or you aren't. There's always a scale to it. And I just say that because I saw instantaneously your gut was like, there's something here. But then the work that you did around that to like, now let's take that and make that a plan so we can make sure that we make this successful was super cool to see.
I love kind of your thoughts around what is confidence. I think that confidence is often, for newer leaders, it is a fear of walking into the room and not having all the answers and thinking that like confidence comes from projecting certainty at all times.
Totally.
And I know that I was there. I lived in that earlier in my career for a long time. And I feel like there's been an evolution, especially since I've been in the ed tech side of things, where like for me now, confidence is more grounded in the understanding that it's okay to not have every answer.
Totally.
And asking the right questions is what leads to good insights. And like sometimes the really powerful moments come from admitting that you don't know things and then reaching out to your community for those insights. And I feel like you just articulated that with your example around building your business and the roadshow that you went on.
I love that piece and calling that out, because I agree. Early in my own career, I thought confidence was like chest out, tough. I have all the answers. It's like I can go to battle and win kind of a thing. And it's not, right? Confidence is peace of mind and contentment in understanding exactly where you are, what you're tasked with doing, and what you can do. And I had to learn in my own career. I don't know that anyone ever really told me that early in my career, I acted tough. I thought I had all the answers. And what I learned is like now I say I don't know way more often, and I have questions way more often. And I think I even experienced that in building Canahomas. When I first launched Canahomas, like we're pitching the business, and at first I thought I was supposed to like prove to everybody we knew everything. And like now, if you ever sit in on a pitch of ours, half the time I'm like, I don't know. I had someone bring up this question today. I'm like, I hope we could do that better, but I'm not sure. Here's what I'd look into. It's like the ability to just be open and honest and not feel that you have to protect yourself with all these answers. I think that's where like actual confidence comes from. And in so many ways, it's born through experience. I think that's why early in my career, I didn't have experience. And so I tried to compensate for that with knowledge, right? I'd read every book, I'd prepare. I intellectually felt confidence, but I didn't feel like I had the muscle built up. And now, almost 20 years into my career in EDU, like I have actual confidence because I've actually done things a lot. And that means that I can actually act in a way that may not always look confident because I'm asking a lot of questions. I often say I don't know. I'll regularly tell people like I don't have the answers to that. It's been really interesting to see how that evolves over time. It's just, I just love that you call that out, thinking about how you define confidence throughout your own career experience. I've never thought about it fully that way. I just love that. I love that you called that out.
I think too, confidence helps to set a tone for how we approach challenges and how we lead our teams. And so there's a balance, right? And you've kind of lead into like asking these questions, and admitting when you don't know things can help lead to, more insights and becoming more confident. But at the same time, like, you've got a whole team to lead, and it's like you still have to project some confidence there, right?
Yeah.
Like we have to give our teams permission to like trust in their abilities, and even when sometimes outcomes aren't guaranteed, and it's like, okay, as the leader, we still do have to show up feeling confident while balancing that with humility, just like small tasks here. No big deal.
Yeah.
But like, I think that helping our teams like stretch beyond what's comfortable for them and take smart risks and fail fast and feel free to voice their ideas. Like, actually, as I'm like talking this out, I'm like, maybe confidence matters because it's what drives innovation. And if like we're not willing to step out and say, hey, like, I don't know all the answers, but I believe in us. I believe we can do this, even when it's hard, even when we aren't going to get it right the first time, like, then our teams can feel confident too.
Totally. I told you, it can't be that I feel confident I can be perfect and I won't fail. One thing I always tell the leadership at our agency is I always say, if your team is not making mistakes, you are. A perfect performer is proof that you have not properly delegated, because everyone should be making a certain percentage of mistakes. Now, to your point, they have to be smart mistakes, fast mistakes. So I also always say that we never make the same mistake twice. So like if we make a mistake, we learn from that. If we're moving so fast, we miss the lesson, that's its own problem. But I always tell people, if your team is not making mistakes, you are. It means you have not given them enough room to grow. And so we have made mistakes as a business, right? And it's about how you react to those things that builds future confidence. A simple example for leaders is just when people make a mistake, knowing that you're going to have their back and not throw them under the bus is so important and so obvious. But like, people have to live that experience first of like, hey, I made this mistake. And it's like, that's okay. Like, we expect you to make mistakes. Now, how are we going to make sure we're not making that mistake again, right? Like, do we have to change process? Do we have to change training? Do we have to be like more attentive to the specific area of the business? But I do think that you can foster confidence in a way that's not just like, look at how smart we are, but it's more like, look at how fast we can execute in a safe environment.
Yeah. Do you have any examples of mistakes that eventually led you to build more confidence?
Yeah, I'll have one. So I'll say one is like, probably at a high level for career moves. When I left UCLA to go to Southern New Hampshire University in 2011, I was really confident that things were going to go well, that I was in the early days of online. I got laughed out of UCLA by someone, which I've told that story before, where, they were like, you're going to online education? And I was like, yep, it's 2011 and I know this is about to be huge. And I like perfectly caught that wave. And a lot of my career successes come from that. When I felt like my chapter was done at Southern New Hampshire, I then thought in 2015, like, I want to go work in the OPM space, the online program management space, which is like private companies that help nonprofit, typically institutions, grow their online enrollment. And candidly, I completely mistimed that. Like, if anyone follows the OPM space now, so many have closed or sold for parts. 2U just went bankrupt. It's very much a mature portion of the market that is just heavily regulated. And I totally mistimed that. I thought that I was getting into the OPM space at the right time. And so I found myself in a chapter where I was like, I really was missing being at an institution, and I felt like maybe I wasn't in the right place. And that didn't go as planned, but what helped was having a lot of conversations with folks and being open to saying that and sharing that. One of the biggest pieces of career advice I give to people is, if or when you think you might be ready to move on, start telling people. Now, don't tell people internally. That doesn't help you with your boss or other folks if they know. But like, do you have that trusted circle where you can start to say, I think I may be ready for a different opportunity. I think I may want something different. So for me, it was like, I think I want to go back in-house. I missed being a CMO, or I wasn't necessarily, I missed being in marketing, and I thought I had a path to being a CMO. And so that was an example where I think, thinking I timed OPMs right in 2015 was about 5 years too late. I had to live that to know. But I leaned a lot on my circle during that time to figure out, well, what is my next move if I feel like maybe this isn't the most fulfilling chapter in my career?
Yeah. I made a move once where I didn't believe in the product, but I believed in the opportunity. And I misjudged how important the product is when that's what you're selling.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't believe in what you're selling, you're not going to do well at selling it. And while it wasn't my job to sell it, it was my job to help, lead the team that was helping the customers utilize that product and get the most value out of it. And I think, I, in hindsight, probably didn't make the smartest move for myself in that, and probably didn't lead the team as well as I could have, because I was the first skeptical one, and you can't be in that position when when you aren't in a role where you can make it better either. It was just super challenging. Now, I learned, like, you learn a lot from your mistakes, right? Like, I learned so much from that period that I've taken with me into future roles, but that was a tough one.
Do you think you're more confident now, though, because you had that experience and lived through that like you now would have more confidence in future decisions because you maybe know some of the downsides or what to look for?
Yeah, that's exactly it. I know what to look for now, and I know where my limits are. I know that I could not go work for like a company that's selling like gum in the checkout line at a grocery store because I don't chew gum and I'm not buying it in the checkout line at a grocery store. And it's like the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Like I need to believe in the brand that I am working for. And that's why I feel like I do great with Enrollify, because I'm like, this is literally like what I love the most about our industry. I can put my heart and soul into it and hopefully it shows, right? But I have learned that when I can't put my heart and soul into something, that probably shows too. So I am more confident now in making those decisions for me.
I love that. And I think that just highlights that like building confidence doesn't just come from success or intentional efforts. Even our stumbles or our strays can be great opportunities to build confidence. I love that.
And what a wonderful community we have around us. I am so thankful for the Enrollify community, for our higher ed Marcom community. This is just one of the many reasons why I love this industry. And so listeners, we are so grateful for you. Seth, anything any parting thoughts as we close this one out?
Yeah, my parting thought, one thing I've talked about publicly, I think once or twice before, is like I really believe in this idea called the root revolution, which is that like it's totally free for us to root for everybody. And like one of the things that comes from building confidence is just feeling like people have your back, even if they don't have a way to influence the outcome of what you're doing. And so like it doesn't cost anything to root for people. And I feel like my own career has benefited a lot from all the folks that have rooted for me. And so for those of you listening, there's folks I have text chains with friends, I have LinkedIn DMs, or just folks I bump into at conferences. I just want to say thank you for that. I feel like so many people root for me in a very sincere way, and I just appreciate that. And I think it doesn't cost us anything to root for somebody else. You've rooted for me for 15 years, as long as we've known each other. We've always been each other's camps. And I just think that's just one of the best things about where we get to work every day. And that's probably the thing with Thanksgiving coming up that I'm probably most thankful for.
Right on. The more we give, it always feels the more we attract to the people who want to support us in our career journey. But it all starts from the foundation of giving and giving more than you get sometimes. And so we've talked about that before. And I feel like maybe that is just the spirit of the week.
I think so. I think it is.
Amazing. All right, friends. Well, we will catch you next week. Have a good one. Happy Thanksgiving. Bye-bye. The Higher Ed Pulse is part of the Enrollify Podcast Network. If you like this podcast, chances are you'll like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing by the month, and we've got a plethora of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Our show helps higher ed marketers and admission pros find their next big idea and features a selection of the industry's best as your hosts. Learn from Brian Gross, Eddie Francis, Jenny Lee Fowler, and so many of your favorite leaders in higher ed. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform, helping institutions create meaningful and personalized interactions with students. Learn more at element451.com.